Hi, I'm Levi, and I'm building a crystal portal. Welcome to the second episode of the Crystal Portal podcast, where we talk about crystals, Moldavite, spirit guides, sacred geometry, intuition, quantum energy, and all things metaphysical. Find something special for your spiritual journey. Shop online at moldavitejewelry.com to support my work. So if you recall, episode 1, I did a brief overview of my Moldavite experience and journey up until this point. So I've been working with Moldavite for 8, almost 9 years now. And if you can imagine, it's been an extraordinary amount of change working with the Stone of Transformation. So again, we left the last episode at an employee of mine at the time was sorting through a box of fulgurite, which is fossilized lightning. And he said, you know what would be cool? If you created a beaded door with this. I thought, that's a great idea. And that's when this journey for the crystal portal began. However, at the time, I didn't realize what it would turn into. And so, originally, it was meant to be a beaded door. Simply a number of beads cut out of fulgurite, of course, Moldavite, phenakite, and other beads were emerging in the collective creative consciousness. So I quickly realized that this would be something unlike anything else that ever been made. Yes, there are I'm sure there are beaded doors, plenty of beaded doors made of wood and other beads, but nothing had ever been created like this. And once I began thinking about that, and realizing this is not only a beaded door, this would be a high vibration, almost like a Synergy 12 kind of thing. And we're talking light body activation. Once I began thinking of this, I realized, okay, this really needed to be a standalone. Like it couldn't simply be something you hung on a doorway, a standard doorway. It needed to be something that was standalone by itself that people could walk through, because originally when we were talking about putting it in this one area, it was so that it crossed from one room to the other room. So I briefly considered other ways of making this. At first I was wondering, okay, so basically 3 options. Option 1, beaded door hang in a doorway, existing doorway. Option 2, standalone, which would require building a frame. Option 3, hanging from the ceiling. So the more I thought about it, I realized that this was an art project that I could really dive into. I'm really into crystals, minerals, and the energies of all of these, again, high vibration minerals, including tektites, meteorites, and more. And so it seemed like a great project that I could really get into and honestly have a bit of fun with. So then, once I realized that the best of the 3 options was to create a standalone, that meant the frame itself would also need to be decorated in a way. It didn't seem right to make it simply a 2x4 frame. And so the idea very quickly evolved to where I grabbed a couple pieces of paper, I set them down there, and went straight to trying to design something that would be, number one, standalone, but it had to be sturdy. It had to be absolutely solid, because I wasn't really thinking about the physics of the weight of the minerals yet. I just realized that, okay, if these are rocks, I know that minerals, crystals, can actually have a bit of weight to them. They don't look like it, but you have a small box or even a bucket full of crystals, and the weight can be quite significant. So whatever this frame was needed to be able to support the weight of the various minerals in such a manner that it would be very sturdy, so that people could walk through and appreciate with it being solid. As I was thinking about that, also was thinking, okay, so if this is a crystal doorway, it also needed to be clearing. It had to be, since multiple people were going to experience it and go through it, it needed to be self-clearing. So what are the clearing minerals? Selenite, number one. Shungite, another good one. Moldavite, of course, activating, but also very clearing. So the original idea and concept very quickly evolved to, number one, the beaded door, and also to have the main portion, the pillars, more or less, made of selenite and shungite. Of course, some Moldavite too. And so that was the very beginning of the crystal portal, which, again, I felt like I had an idea, but I had no idea the scope of this project. Again, this is 3 years out. We've crossed the 3-year mark. Been working on this project for over 3 years. It's been quite a journey. Originally, I'd thought that, okay, so given the scope of this project, I guessed that this would take 6 months, maybe a year tops, to complete. However, the factor that I did not consider at the time was my guides. All along the way, I've been meditating. At one point, I'd asked them, "Are you aware of this door that we're working on?" And they said, "Yes, we've been watching." Tune into episode 3 to find out what happens next.